Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi's remarks on what he calls are fault lines within the Indian structure on foreign soil have once again placed the leader of opposition at the center of a national debate. Speaking at a university in Colombia, the country Colombia, Rahul spoke about how he believes India's democracy is under attack and our economy under threat. And while many of these themes are those that echo from his past statements, what's raising eyebrows and political temperatures back home is the fact that these have been made on foreign soil and are political half-truths. This isn't the first time Rahul Gandhi has taken India's domestic issues to an overseas platform. From Cambridge to Stanford to Oxford, it's a pattern. Whether it's the alleged misuse of investigative agencies or suppression of dissent in India, the Congress MP has consistently chosen global forums to voice what he believes are systemic problems back home. Now, the BJP has accused Rahul Gandhi of repeatedly demeaning India on foreign soil, calling the remarks a portrayal of Congress's anti-India mindset. Congress continues to argue that Rahul Gandhi is doing what any responsible opposition leader should. While the war of words rages on, the question we're asking is, maybe there are fault lines within the Indian structure. There's hardly any country or a large country or polity without one. But should an Indian leader of opposition talk about risks within an Indian system overseas? That's the question we'll be posing to our guests joining us in just a bit. So the first big debate on Plain Speak today, Rahul's overseas raga. Is this a pattern? Is he a repeat offender? Or is he just doing what political leaders do these days? Also on the show today, we'll tell you how a decimated Pakistan has been put on notice by Indian Army and Air Force chiefs. We'll get you all the details of what the Air Force chief said about damages on the Pakistani side. Later on the show, we'll also get you a quick roundup of what's the latest as far as the cough syrup conundrum is concerned. There have been deaths reported, but it seems the guilty party is not been identified yet. First, here's what Rahul Gandhi has said while speaking at an event at the EIA University in Colombia. The Congress MP said that the biggest attack on democracy is taking place in India currently. He emphasized that different traditions, customs, ideas require a space to coexist in diversity, and the best way to create that space is via a democratic system. But he added that there is a wholesale attack on the democratic systems in India and that we need to allow diverse traditions and groups that space if we need them to thrive. This wasn't it. Other than claiming that there are fault lines and risks within the Indian structure, which is the big issue, why is he talking about this to an overseas audiences? He also further added that there is a big risk in India, which is the tension between different conceptions in parts of the country. So he went on to explain this as saying that there are 16, 17 major languages and many religions, and it is crucial to allow these diverse traditions to thrive and give them the space they need. So is he suggesting that that is not happening right now? Or is he talking about an inherent risk that India has always had as a large country with diverse opinions, languages, faiths, customs, etc.? Now, in Colombia, Rahul also spoke about the Indian economy, but his claims met with a fierce counter as far as the BJP is concerned. So Rahul said that there is good economic growth in India, but we are struggling to create jobs. What was the fact check that was delivered by the BJP on this? That 17 crore jobs have been created in the last decade, and of course, that has been the decade under Narendra Modi. Rahul further added that we are not producing and not manufacturing as a country. The BJP fact-checked him by saying, for example, that India is now the second largest mobile phone manufacturer. We've come a long way. So clearly, manufacturing is growing. Rahul also said that we are a service-based economy. The BJP reminded him that we are the fourth largest automobile producer today, for example. So there are several sectors that are growing. We are no longer banking on just service today. He also said that India requires a manufacturing base and an act of production to employ people, suggesting that this is not happening enough. He also compared us to China. The BJP says that manufacturing job sector has witnessed a growth of 15% in the last decade versus what was just 6% between 2004 and 14, effectively the UPA era. So is there any basis to the claims that Rahul Gandhi has made as far as Colombia is concerned? That and more But biggest issue today, should Indian politicians be discussing quote-unquote fault lines and risks within the Indian system overseas? That's coming up.
Optimistic about India, but at the same time there are also fault lines within the Indian structure. There are risks that India has to overcome. The single biggest risk is the attack on democracy that is taking place in India.
देखिए, उनका ये एक आदत हो गई है कि विदेश में जाकर के देश की जो संवैधानिक संस्थाएं हैं उनको बदनाम करना।
देखिए, कोलंबिया में ही जहां वो गए हैं, भारत की कई मोटरसाइकिल जिसमें बजाज है, टीवीएस है, अन्य मोटरसाइकिल्स वहां पर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो रही हैं और मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है उनके आने से पहले। सिंपल सा उदाहरण देता हूं जो हम आप सबके हाथ में, मोबाइल हैंडसेट। 2014 से पहले भारत दुनिया का सेकेंड बिगेस्ट मोबाइल हैंडसेट कंज्यूमर था, क्योंकि आबादी में हम नंबर 2 और चाइना नंबर 1 था। आज हम सेकेंड बिगेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर हो गए।
In the context of Indian present situation, how can you deny? The truth is that democratic rights are being trampled upon in India. How could you debate that question?
Let's go across to our guest joining us, RP Singh, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Pooja Tripathi from the Congress Party, Rajat Sethi and Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist and political analyst, also with us. I do thank you all for your time. So, Pooja, I'm going to restrict myself to discussing, why an Indian politician should go overseas to Colombia of all countries and talk about Indian fault lines. Mention the number of languages or religions and, competing, thriving, diverse groups. I'm not quite understanding that. What is the rationale to discuss Indian risks overseas?
Shivani, equating a government with a nation is a flawed,
I'm not talking about government at all. I began by saying I am not talking about BJP or RSS.
Why an Indian leader? So I'll take you back regarding what Rahul Gandhi said as an India as a conversation between its diverse group of people. I want to remind you at Madison Square Garden, New York in September 2014, when Modi ji said that, Modi ji said that before 2014, India was heavily corrupt. And today there was a news that Babus have written, the builders have written to Babus to have a cut in the bribe rates in Maharashtra. It's today's news. In Shanghai in May 2015, Modi ji said कि शर्म आती थी किसी को इंडिया में पहले जन्म लेने में. In Toronto, in Canada, Modi ji again said in November 2015 कि 70 साल में कुछ नहीं हुआ. In Seoul, South Korea, in May 2014, मोदी जी कहते थे कि मैं अब्रॉड जाता था तो छुपाता था कि मैं इंडिया से हूँ, मुझे बताने में शर्म आती थी. 2016 USA, 2015 UAE, same thing. So when you're asking is, let's turn a leaf back a few years back, but here nobody is saying कि हमें इंडिया का इंडियंस बोलने में शर्म आती है. हमें ये शर्म आती है बाहरी बताने में कि हम इंडियंस हैं. What he talked about is systemic centralization. What he talked about the fault lines in electoral democracy. What he talked about is corruption. What he talked about is joblessness. And he also said about hope in India's growth story. We talk about
you're deliberately sidestepping the particular portion that I'm talking about. He said there are fault lines in India. Please tell me, why would you discuss quote-unquote fault lines of your own country overseas? For whose benefit? He mentioned languages and religions. Why would you do this? Why would you portray this as a risk within Indian democracy overseas? This has nothing to do with this government or that government. Languages, religions, all kinds have existed in India from pre-independence era. This is not a gift given to us post-independence. And I want to understand, why would you talk about these being inherent risks of Indian system? In what way?
No, he was talking about, fault lines within the democracy. He was talking about how the democratic space is not giving space to the pluralism and respecting the diversity of India. He was talking about whatever has happened, the democratic downsliding that we are happening, be it the institutional erosion, be it the accountability of election commission. He was talking about.
But why? Okay, fair enough. But why is he talking to
He's
a
a leader
foreign
of opposition.
audience? No, why is he talking about Indian risks and fault lines to a foreign audience? To where? What end?
No, he is a leader of opposition. He is saying that we are a thriving democracy in spite of having so much diversity. And I'm sure he was comparing it with, China's authoritarianism to India's democracy. And he was talking about how democracy is under attack and why we should let pluralism survive. We should let the diversity thrive. And he was talking about that. And as a leader of opposition, he's duty
Can
bound
you
to
be
discuss
specific
India's
about how democracy is under attack? Can you be very specific?
Yeah, I'll be specific. I'll be
Let's
very
discuss
specific.
that. I mean, don't be agendic. Three leaders, three party members. Give me a second. Your three family members are member of the parliament. Mother, son, and the daughter, and still parliament.
Okay, can I have this one by one? Can I have this one by one? Pooja ji, I'll come back to you. You please respond to what RP Singh is saying. Yes, RP Singh.
No, I'm saying, just giving a sweeping statement that democracy is not set, democracy is not set. But just three of the family members are part of the parliament. And they were elected to 4 parliament. He rejected one, he picked up another one. So he virtually was elected to 4 parliament seats and still parliament is not set. Democracy is not set. What are you talking about? He comes and makes speeches. Give me a second now, never interpret. He goes around and says, vote chori, vote chori. He raises question on election commission. His sister, Priyanka Vadra ji, raises question on Supreme Court, that how can Supreme Court reprimand my brother? And also, his party men and including himself raises question on the valor of the army. That's how they say that democracy is not threat.
Okay, no, can I just say, even as any analytical analysis, Pooja, maybe it's because Congress was just that dominant for a very long period of time and it had a very long run as far as being in power in India is concerned. But absolutely there can be no suggestion that there haven't been attacks on India's institutions, quote unquote, and they weren't grave when Congress was under power versus anything that you can point out in the last 10 years.
Okay, so the 95% cases that have been against the opposition leaders with 3% conviction rate, the 144...
That doesn't make them wrong. That doesn't mean they're not valid.
No, leader of opposition comes out with a staggering proof of electoral malpractices. Beat Mahadev, Pira, beat Alan. Election Commission goes on to say कि हम माँ बहन बेटियों की CCTV footage. This is the reasoning that
that's not malpractice. You haven't established electoral malpractice in India. Certainly not of the kind that used to go on when Congress was in power.
No. But nobody, remind me one prime minister, remind me one head of state who went and said कि मुझे शर्म आती थी इंडिया में जन्म लेने को.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's aside. Are you saying this is in response to what Narendra Modi said few years ago? Are you saying this is in response to that?
No, please respond to that also. Why should we keep it aside? That was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who was representing 140 billion Indians and he was saying कि हमें इंडिया में 2014 से पहले जाने में शर्म आती.
Okay, I'll take that to RP Singh. But Pooja, you have to make us understand how you can say that there is rampant electoral malpractice in India when just 12 months ago, Congress party was celebrating a victory of 99 seats in the last general elections. I don't think the Congress party has established any rampant malpractice. So saying this in India is a separate issue. There should be objections to that too. But why should you say this in Colombia? That answer hasn't been forthcoming.
Because
they were not celebrating their victory. They were celebrating that Modi ji has lost election.
RP Singh, I'm coming to you. RP Singh, I'm coming to you. Yes.
Everything is pointing to us. Look at the institutional erosion. Look at the opaque funding of electoral bonds. Look at how electoral malpractices have surfaced. Everything. Suspension of 144 MPs. Everything is pointing to how democracy is backsliding.
I'm sorry. If you compare it to things that have gone down pre-2014, none of them have been completely out of ordinary or things we haven't seen before. And let me point out, the Congress party likes to present this as some sort of an erosion of the election commission, that there was supposed to be a CGI, now there is a leader of opposition on it. Earlier, CGIs used to be appointed directly by the government. You can't ignore that. So was the system not compromised then? Today, at least, there is a panel. How long can you stretch this argument that when we elected the election commissioner, the chief election commissioner, we were fair, but today if there's a panel with a diverging voice, that is not fair. No, I'm sorry, there's a limit to it. You can say this in India, but if you're going to say this overseas, you better have your facts to back it up. Electoral malpractice, in his visit before, in his earlier visit in April, Rahul Gandhi said election commission is 100% compromised. That is an absolutely unverified statement. It's a political jibe. Fair enough, you say this in India, but why should you say this overseas? Is it to erode the confidence of foreign powers and agencies, so as to say, in Indian democracy? RP Singh, please go ahead, then I have to go to our other guests as well. Yes.
Well, you rightly pointed out. It's basically trying to malign country and to ensure that the faith of the diaspora and other investors who want to invest in India, it should be shaken. That's the only objective. Because another reason is that he doesn't get much of the attraction here. He doesn't get much of the following here on his yatras and public meetings. I mean, his recent yatra, that vote chori yatra, it miserably failed, and that's why Mr. Tejasvi Yadav is taking out a second yatra, because he knows that yatra has not got much of the attraction which it was supposed to get. So that is the reason. So
okay, but RP Singh, please respond.
Give me a second. Give me another second. Just another second. And also, he talking about languages and other things.
Yeah.
Does he know that Ramayana is written in 25 languages? We have one culture. We might have different language, dialect. We have different states. But there is one culture. India has one culture, which is Hindu culture, which is not religion. Let's go by the Supreme Court decision on that, version on that. So issue is, he's not aware of the Indian culture. He's not aware of the Indian ethos. He thinks India is the club of a lot of nations put together, a lot of states put together.
He has said this in the past, also on foreign soil, that India is merely a union of states. That is deriding India as a republic and as an independent sovereign republic that is one country. I don't think Congress has ever been able to justify that statement. This ultra-left ideology, which was mouthed by Rahul Gandhi himself, that we are nothing but a collection of states. We would have been separate countries. We can be, balkanized even today, because there's nothing binding us together. That was effectively the soul of the argument that Rahul Gandhi made. But let me go across to Rajat Sethi. Rajat Sethi, in fact, this whole union of states comments overseas to now saying there are fault lines in India which are religions and languages and all. How do you read this? Because I don't understand, one, how have these fault lines emerged today? India has been a land of divergent views, faiths, sectarian views, languages for hundreds of years. Plus, why should you discuss this overseas?
So, good morning from Bogota, Shivani ji. Coincidentally, I am in Colombia.
Great.
Not for attending Rahul Gandhi's, which was entirely painful to the ears to listen what he was saying. But I did pull out certain clips and showed it to my Colombian friends here. They did not understand what Rahul Gandhi was saying. They couldn't make 2 + 2 on that entire speech. This is the frank opinion that I'm giving you. When you try and lecture an audience, which anyway has very little understanding of the democratic contours of a country, this far, like diametrically opposite far, you could have made a simple pitch. Make it simple, ease out, what is your vision around India, and sort of ease out what a Colombian can understand. Instead of this, he goes on a rant. I don't know who the end audience is. Clearly, the people sitting in that room did not understand even an iota of what he was saying. They could not relate with it, because from a distance, India does seem as a picture where things are happening, things are dynamically improving, and that's the picture that people have. And then he comes in with this philosophical thought process, which nobody, not even Indians, relate with. Forget about Colombians. That's what the reality is. Now, therefore, my simple point that I wanted to tell the Congressee supporters out there is, please ask Rahul Gandhi to talk in simple terms. What he wants to say, put it out in simple, plain English. Instead of philosophizing it, because he is not a philosopher, he doesn't make any sense what he says. Look at what the motorcycle and car example that he was getting, ending up that entire, anecdote by accidents, comparing it with accidents. I don't understand what he was trying to say. And a lot of people in India don't understand what he ever says. Again, that is what I felt. I discussed it with my Colombian friends out here. They do not relate with what Rahul Gandhi was mentioning here. I also don't see that Indians relating with Rahul Gandhi, otherwise Rahul Gandhi would have been in the government. Now, you can berate India. I don't think India, with its strength of 1.5 billion people, is drawing its inspiration or source of energy from Mr. Rahul Gandhi. He can keep sulking. He can keep, finding excuses as to why he's not in the government, why he has lost almost 80 elections in his political career. He can keep lamenting about it. The world doesn't care. As I'm saying today, if you want to make elections as an issue, stop contesting the election. Go and boycott the election if you have to guts to actually question India's electoral processes. No, you will not do that. There's a saying in Hindi ki kadwa kadwa thu thu, meetha meetha gab gab. You want to enjoy all the fruits of power. You talk about decentralization. You have 2 or 3 very important states. What decentralization have you done in the states of Telangana and in the states of Karnataka? Have you ever walked the talk on? Tell me, for the last 10 years, you've been blabbering all of these philosophical arguments. Have you ever walked the talk? Give me one example in one village in any remote corner of the country where Congress has been in the power. What have you done?
One of the other days I was discussing this, that you can attack, let's say, the Modi model at the center. But has Congress been able to provide us with an alternate vision of what their vision, if they were to come to power, is going to be, instead of abstract?
Statewide, Shivani.
And Congress, despite being in power, exactly, Congress, despite, I think their biggest failure as an opposition party has been that despite being in power and winning state elections, they haven't been able to present one state where they can say, look at the state, we had it for 5 years, we are winning a government again. They are not getting re-elected in state governments after one term. That itself is an indictment. And you cannot present that, okay, here's a model, we are going to replicate this. This whole guarantees model has already fallen flat. Karnataka is broke, Telangana is broke, Himachal is broke. So you can criticize in thin air, you haven't presented a vision. But before I go to Rashid Kidwai, Rajat, the other point also is that maybe BJP also needs to be a little less sensitive if Rahul Gandhi goes overseas and criticizes the BJP government. They also don't need to get up every time and say everything is anti-national.
No, I agree. So this is for the intellectuals and the others to not pay too much of attention to what Rahul Gandhi is saying, because it carries very little weight. But see, BJP is in the business of doing politics. If they find a softball, they'll knock it out of the park. And this is what they're doing. I mean, they're having a field day right now. With all what Rahul Gandhi has been saying, they will be enjoying this moment. They'll be ensuring that every single platform is only discussing this absolutely zero sense speech. This is to their advantage. Why does Congress play to their advantage is the moot point.
I'm going to take that to Rashid Kidwai. What is the Congress getting out of this? I want to take that to Rashid Kidwai in just a minute. Please allow me, RP Singh, to respond, because I raised the question of why BJP is so sensitive. You've been in power for 11 years. Politicians are going to criticize you. We live in a flat world, flatter than it used to be. We criticize Americans. Americans criticize us. We all do it anywhere. Where you are today, it doesn't matter. Your ideas flow anyways beyond boundaries.
Well, I accept that we stay in the flat world, rather a world in your fist, that Karlo Dunya Mutti mein, the joke slogan, but that's a fact also. But that's point aside. Fact is, the issue is that when he speaks about fault lines, and that's the problem. I mean, where is the fault line? I mean, he tries to generate fault lines, and this advantage is taken by something like that Khalistani, which is behind the bar nowadays. I don't want to take his name, but people like him takes advantage of that. That India is not one nation; it's union of lot of states put together. And then that's very sad. And that's the reason that hits us. That why shall you show India as some country which is small pieces, which is not one country as such? Because he is not aware, as I said earlier, he is not aware of the Indian culture's ethos. He is not aware that every part of the India is one country. I mean, right from Tamil Nadu till Kedarnath. The Pandas from Tamil Nadu.
Let people judge him on that. If he's saying these things and that are incorrect,
give me a second. Pandas from Kedarnath goes to Badrinath, and Pandas from Karnataka goes to Kedarnath. And also, he doesn't know that Maharaja Ranjit Singh gave gold to, he presented gold to Golden Temple, along with that to Kashi Vishwanath also.
Kashi Vishwanath too, yes.
So
yes.
That is what India has
so that's
been,
his understanding. That's his understanding. That's for the Congress party to, figure out whether that works or not. Because Congress used to be a big central tent of all nationalists, because, we were recently discussing RSS and independence and freedom struggle. From that to now, it is for the Congress party to decide what line they're going to take. But Rashid Kidwai, I want to understand from you as someone who tracks the Congress closely, what is the end goal of these foreign trips? What is the idea behind Rahul Gandhi going to these universities? What is the hope that he will achieve? What is the end objective?
I think, Shivani, you asked a very good question. In your question, lies the answer. The BJP is little wary of Rahul Gandhi. There is, we can go on saying his electoral failures or the Congress inability, but the recent survey by C Voter says that the popularity ratings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is 51% and Rahul's is 41%. Now, in any democracy, if there is this kind of 10% gap, then that is very interesting and that has opportunity for both sides. And therefore, there is this kind of thing that Rahul is judged very harshly. I would say a very close scrutiny is made by the BJP, whatever he says. Now, to say that he's speaking abroad, I think it is little rich in this era of technology because, we have a Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Insta. Whatever we write or comment, is it Indian or is it something that has, has a database in America and all these are problematic things. Like my friend Rajat is there in Colombia and he's making a comment. So this fortress approach is not proper. And there is a rich history, very rich history of all political parties and individuals talking about domestic politics abroad. When in every possible way, I can spend a whole evening giving examples.
But do they discuss Indian fault lines?
The Naga talks takes place in Thailand and the government of India representatives are there. So there all kind of things have been there. Lal Dinga was in England when he was brought here and made, Chief Minister of Mizoram. So there are all kind of, so to say that we speak abroad and all, I think this is not really, the real thing is political. As you pointed out, there is a kind of no holds barred tussle is going on and the BJP is increasingly getting, they may not admit it, they are getting wary of Rahul Gandhi.
Okay.
That Rahul Gandhi
RP Singh will respond to that, but I still want to understand from you, Rashid Kidwai, do these trips get Congress the end result that they are hoping for?
No, not really. No. These are to create, atmosphere and everyone does it. We comment, Shivani, as a nation, we comment on all, nations, whether it's not just about Palestine or Bangladesh or Nepal. We have a view on every political, event that is because as a democracy, we are responsible for other, democracies. So this kind of conversation takes place, whether it makes an impact or not during emergency.
But I don't see anybody else coming to India and saying that, we have these problems back home, unless they are ambassadors of those countries.
My friend Rajat is there, so he travels abroad. He knows there are all kind of, dialogues, conferences, interactions are taking place. Whether there is a kind of direct dig or not, we can, find fault. What Mr. Modi said in 2014 was correct or not, what Rahul is saying today in Bogota is correct or not, that we can question it. But this process does take place. So that is what I'm saying. It is very elitist and it's very naive to say that somebody is speaking ill, while traveling abroad.
Okay. I'll give RP Singh and Rajat both 30 seconds each to respond to what Rashid Kidwai is saying. RP Singh first, that you are indeed wary of Rahul Gandhi, which is why he gets under your skin every time he opens his mouth.
No. He can open his mouth as much he want to. He can put his foot in his mouth. We have no problem with that also. But problem is when he goes abroad and says, to a small young Sikh lad, you can't wear a turban in India. You can't wear a kada in India. That's a problem. And now continuation that there is fault line in India. He tried to create fault lines going abroad and tried to instigate Khalistanis. That's my problem. That's our problem.
Okay.
His agenda was taken by no less than Pannu. Pannu reiterated the same thing. So problem is, why shall you do something which can go
against India's
country?
enemies? Okay. Rajat, does the BJP have something to be wary of Rahul Gandhi? His popularity is rising.
I mean, what kind of an indexes are these polls, etc., if he doesn't end up winning elections? See, again, I agree with Rashid ji. As a free individual, he can go to any country. He can go to Honolulu, speak to people as much as he wants. He doesn't interact with Indian diaspora because he's going to get a retort from the Indian diaspora. And that happened in Singapore, by the way, if you remember, when somebody rose up and questioned him.
Too, yes.
So he doesn't interact with Indian diaspora, who effectively are the only important stakeholders outside of India for India. But he engages with audience who have no clue only, who can't come out and question him. and he never takes questions from these audience deliberately. So these isolated events around the world happen because there are mechanisms of certain invisible threads which organize these events around the world, wherein you have a very docile audience who doesn't understand anything, therefore cannot question Mr. Rahul Gandhi. He can come in, say whatever he wants, and walk out of that. No consequences. Look at the newspapers today. Not a single newspaper in Colombia has covered his speech because it is as worthless and as meaningless as it can get.
So, Pooja, I'll give you 30 seconds for the same question. What does the Congress party achieve with so many university or foreign visits from Rahul Gandhi, where the topic seems to be bashing India back home?
Rahul Gandhi talks to Indian audiences and Rahul Gandhi takes questions too, contrary to Narendra Modi ji, who could not speak a word without the teleprompter. And all he does is ha, he, who, and things like that. I want to ask Rajat, how many newspapers took out news clippings of our delegation visit, the multi-party delegation visit that visited in the aftermath of Operation Sindhu? The answer is none. And that's where, it's a political outreach. He is talking to audiences and he is taking questions too. And Narendra Modi ji did not have the audacity to answer even the press. And I remember Joe Biden telling him, this is the question for you. And he was like, So that's what I'm saying. You may sit in a news chamber, you may have an echo chamber where you bash Rahul Gandhi. Koi nahi samajhta. But that's his political outreach. And as a leader of opposition, he talks about India. He talks about the strength of India. He talks about the weakness of the government in India. Does not talk ill about India or ashamed of
Rajat,
India.
you want to respond very quickly, 10 seconds, please.
When you say fault lines, I want to remind, RTC was constantly saying Khalistani. What fault lines did Sonam Wangchuk take advantage of? The fault lines that Home Minister Amit Shah ji promised 6th schedule to Ladakis. The fault lines that he promised reservation in jobs to Ladakis. The fault line that he'll preserve the eco-sensitive Himalayan.
You're not aware of that. There have been already reservation given to Ladakis in the job. Come prepared with your debate.
The issue of Leh Ladakh is extremely sensitive, and it deserves a debate on its own. And I think it's not. I don't have enough time for that, so let's not get into it. Rajat, I only have 10 seconds to you to respond. How much did Indian delegations get in publications?
See, all I'm hearing is any kind of a question that you ask around Rahul Gandhi, the answer is hidden somewhere in Modi and Modi's politics. If this is your response, he doesn't have an individual standing which is not independent of what Modi is doing.
You are bashing Rahul.
See, I am sitting here in Colombia, Pooja ji. I'm sitting here and I'm just trying to interact with people myself. I'm also a free citizen of this country. I can also go out and speak and arrive to a conclusion.
All right. Let's leave it at that. Free citizens versus a leader of opposition in a position that carries some weight. That is also a matrix with which these statements can be rated and understood, whether it's right or wrong. I do thank our guests for joining us.